What's going on, everybody? It's Kimberly Flowers here, the visual branding expert and remote producer, founder of remoteproducerlive.com, where we're teaching you guys how to do live streams for clients, right? This show is dedicated to helping you learn how to start creating amazing broadcasts for clients. So if you're already in the live stream space and you're looking to monetize that platform and really learn what it takes to create something that is not only visually compelling to viewers, but also beneficial for your clients, then you're in the right place. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. We are live here today, and we're talking all about how to inspire more audience engagement for your client, okay? And so as we get into this, you guys are going to have questions. I'm going to be talking to you. I want you guys to talk back to me. I'm monitoring the chat right here. So I want you guys throughout the process, first of all, let me know where you're watching us from. Say hello in the comment section. We always love to hear from you. And I want to make sure that you guys make sure that you post your questions as we kind of go through this, because I'm going to give opportunity to be able to answer some of those questions as we go through, okay? So we're talking about audience engagement, you guys. Like, what is the whole big deal around audience engagement? First of all, let's kind of define what is audience engagement. Audience engagement happens when a viewer of your live stream video moves from the point of being an observer into an active participator by some sort of action that they're taking. Maybe they're liking your post. Maybe they are sharing your post. Maybe they're talking about it with their friends. Maybe they're talking in the chat area, right? Like I want you guys to do. This is what audience engagement is all about. Now, why is this beneficial to your client? Like, why would your client, want their audience to kind of be talking back to them or have taking action, okay? Being a remote producer means understanding your client's objectives, okay? It means understanding that your client is not there to do business with you just because they just want it to look good. They have literal business objectives behind why they're even doing their broadcast. So the better that you can understand your client's objectives, the better you can help meet those client objectives, right? So we're going to be talking about this throughout today's broadcast, but I want you to understand the value that audience engagement has for the client, okay? The value that it has for the client. And first, I want to say, hey, Dean, thank you. Marcos, wonderful. Guys, I'm glad you guys are in the chat section. Marketing Digital. Love the show in Atlanta. Great. I love it too. All right, here we go. So what is the value of audience engagement to the client themselves? Like, what are they getting out of it? Like, are we paid in likes and shares? Like, how does it benefit them in their business objectives? So let's talk about this. We've already talked about that. The process of audience engagement means turning your viewer, your observer, into someone who is an active participant of the broadcast by taking some sort of action. They've liked, they've shared, they're talking about it with their friends. Maybe they're talking to you in the chat area. So how is this valuable to them? It's valuable because it helps increase in three, I like to categorize it in three primary values, I guess you can say, right? So the first one is it increases comfortability. Is that even a word? Like comfortability, right? And it helps your client to feel more comfortable. Like the more your audience engages with you, the more comfortable they are with taking actions. And the reason why that's valuable is because if you are a business owner and you are selling a product or a service in conjunction with your show, like, you're maybe doing the show to help promote a product or service that you offer, then it's going to be super important to get your audience to feel comfortable by taking actions with you. So the more engagement they do, the more they're talking with you, the more they feel like they know you, the more comfortable they feel when it comes to making a buying decision, okay? So you want to increase that comfort level of your audience so that they feel good and comfortable buying from you when it's time, okay? So that's the first benefit of audience engagement. The second benefit of audience engagement is that you can also increase the perceived credibility. Audience engagement increases the perceived credibility of the business, of the brand. Now, what does that mean? Okay, let's break that down a little bit. When you go to, if you're looking up a product or a service and you kind of like look them up on social media, like, and you see something, let's just say you see something that has like 1,000 views or something like that, but you notice that the comments and the shares and things like that are maybe not as much. Like, honestly, like anything between views, shares, likes, and all of those things help you to feel like, man, people trust this person. People are engaging. They're interacting with this business, with this brand. They like this brand. They're talking about it. They're sharing it with their friends. That is incredible. That's called industry credibility in the digital space. Okay. So as it pertains to social media marketing, perceived credibility is wrapped up in this the audience engagement, like how many people are liking, how many people are sharing, how many people are talking about this. We feel more comfortable when other people seem like they are engaging with the brand, right? And so it's actually called the bandwagon effect, right? The bandwagon effect says if they did it and they like it and they're getting value from it, then most likely I can make the assumption that I will too, right? And so that's another reason why your audience needs, this whole audience engagement thing. It also increases visibility. Now, how does audience engagement increase visibility? Here's how. Social media platforms like Facebook, like Twitter, like Periscope, like LinkedIn, like all of the social, YouTube, of course, all of the social media platforms that use video as a content source are doing so. They're showing more of the video content based on relevance. And so relevance is the way that they measure relevance. Algorithms measure relevance is how many people are liking it, how many people are talking about it, how many people are sharing it. When the algorithms see that people are liking and sharing and talking about your content to other people, then that tells the algorithm, hey, people like this little piece of content. We need to make it more visible to people like these, And so that increases the visibility of your broadcast. So this is so important to your client because especially if they're starting off with a small platform, this gives you the option to be able to really increase, as you increase their engagement, more people will start to watch that broadcast, right? Because that's how the algorithms are kind of set up. So these are the three benefits, right? It increases that comfort level. It increases the credibility, the perceived credibility of the brand itself. And it also increases visibility just based on the algorithm of social media, right? And so let's talk about audience engagement. How do we actually inspire that? Like, how can we get people to start talking, to start, engaging and doing all of these different things that we want them to do? Now, it's important for you to understand that your audience engagement is going to be based on the invitations that you make to do something. Like you have to have a call to action, or basically you're going to invite them to do certain things. So that can come in different forms. You can ask a question to the audience and have them answer back, either in the chat area, and that will get comments going, right? You can take a survey and have them respond with their favorite things. And the really cool thing about live stream is that you can have, an audible kind of survey where you're an oral invitation, or you can have graphics kind of do the work. So we're going to get into those different invitations here in just a moment. But I want you to understand, what are the types of different, how effective your audience engagement is going to be based on how effective your invitation is, right? So you want to make sure that your invitation is compelling enough for people to actually comment and like and share, guys. And there's some things that you can do to help engage that process. And so we're going to kind of talk about that as we go through this. But again, guys, if you have questions, and you're going to throughout the broadcast as we talk through this about audience engagement, make sure that you put them in the chat section because we are live and I do want to answer those questions. And if the point of you being part of these broadcasts is not just to observe, it's for you to take away value that you can use and start to actively do some of these things that you're learning to get better results in your business, right? So if you're here and you're watching and you are a remote producer, then this is going to help you add more value to your clients. If you're here and because you have your own show or you're looking to create your own show and you really want to know, how do I turn this broadcast into something that is useful, like in business useful, get a return on the investment, what does that look like for me? Like, then you're in the right place. And these kinds of forums, these kinds of conversations are what is going to help you to really, not just get value, but implement it. Do something, right? So in the comment section, guys, don't be afraid to ask me questions as we kind of go through this. So let's talk about the types of invitations, audience invitations that you can make, okay? So I kind of want to go through this, and it's very important that you understand these different things. Let's see. I'm always having to navigate to the actual area here. Okay, so let's talk about the first things first. One point that I want to make sure that you guys understand is this, right? That audience engagement is best initiated by specific invitation, right? So that means, what do I mean by that when I say that? Audience engagement is best initiated by specific invitation. What I mean by that, guys, is you cannot expect your audience to start just taking action if you are not the initiator. You need to be the initiator of the actions that you want them to take. And those actions can be liking the broadcast, sharing it with a friend, subscribing to notifications. Maybe they're clicking on links to get checklists and different things, like different partitions of your product that lead them closer to the product or service that you're selling, right? So again, as a remote producer, understanding your client's objectives help you to kind of create something that is not just visually compelling, but useful to them in the way of their literal business monetary objectives. Okay. So that's super important for you guys to know. But also, let's start talking about some of these invitations. The first one that I want to talk to you about is oral invitation. Okay. What is an oral invitation? An oral invitation is an audible invitation. Like, you literally hear me saying to you, hey guys, in the comment section, write your name, tell us where you're watching from, like make sure that you include the name of your business. This is an opportunity for you to promote your business on the live stream. Put it in the comment section, because if this video goes viral, then so will your comments, right? So you want to make sure that you do that. So that's an example of an oral invitation, and it is a literal invitation. So you guys can go ahead and do that in the chat area there. But it's an example of an oral invitation. It means that you're audibly telling your audience, hey, I'd like for you to take this particular action, okay? And so again, that can come in the form of you asking the audience a question, like, what is it, whatever, like based on the topic that you're talking about, you can ask a question and then look for the comments in that area. But that's a specific invitation for them to start, engaging with you, right? Taking a survey and inviting, answers to questions so that they are able to, like, you can ask the audience a question, you can have them ask you questions, like all of that is credible audience engagement tips, right? So that's an oral invitation, okay? The next invitation that I want to talk to you about is graphic invitation. Graphic invitation. And the reason why graphic invitation is so cool is because graphic invitation allows you to not have to say, right? Graphic invitation allows you the opportunity to not have to say the things that you want the audience to do. It's called like subliminal messaging, right? And technically it's not all that subliminal, but it is like, a silent kind of like non-audible suggestion that you can do. So you can post little comments, like captions and things like that on Restream Studio, which is what we're using to broadcast this particular live stream. You can do things like, hey, tell us where you're watching from below, right? I don't even have to say that. You guys can see it in the broadcast. And now you're inspired to say, hey, I'm Melinda from Atlanta, like whatever, right? Or you can hit the notifications button. Like these little these little elements allow you to not have to say it, right? So as you can continue having the conversation, and then they see on the bottom screen, something that they can do, right? Something that they can do to take an action point. So that gives a graphic invitation. And guys, these can be really, really simple. What I'm showing you right now is really, really simple examples of graphic invitation, but these can get really, really cool looking, right? So you can create some custom ones that are just static, just like these here that you see there, or you can do some animated graphic silent like little invitations for people to do different things. And then that becomes something that they can see while they're watching and be inspired to take action that way. So that's called graphic invitation, okay? And that can be motion graphic invitation and is, kind of static. And we'll talk about how to actually create these. Like I want to go into that, but I want to make sure that you guys have a firm foundation, that you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. That's super important to me because it's important to your client. Like if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, then you really can't be that effective for them. So I want to make sure that you guys have a good foundation and that you understand not only what you're doing, but why you're doing it. Okay. So that's the graphic invitation. Okay. Now I want to go to the last one, which is the chat invitation. Okay. I'm not able to pull these up fast enough, it looks like. Y'all work with me, okay? But a chat invitation is essentially just that. Like in the comment section, there's actually in the chat right now, I can type a message that says, hey guys, ask a question, right? I'm actually going to do this real quick. Ask a question and I'll answer it, right? And then I just put it in there, right? Hey, ask a question. And now that's going to, and the cool thing about Restream Studio is that like in the chat area, like if you're monitoring your chat area in Restream Studio, you can not only just monitor the chat that's happening inside of the, Facebook or YouTube or wherever it is, like it's all of the different platforms at once. So I put a comment out there and then it says, hey guys, ask a question. And it goes to all of the different platforms in that chat area. I'm asking each person from each place to put in, a question, right? Tracy Allen, what's going on? Walter Jones, thank you guys for watching. Guys, again, I know you could have been anywhere else in the world today, but you decided to be here, and that's why I'm committed to making this a valuable investment of your time today. If you're just joining us, we're talking all about audience engagement and how to inspire more audience engagement for your broadcast. And so we've talked about what audience engagement is, basically turning an observer into an active participator into the broadcast, and by taking some sort of action. So they're either liking, they're sharing, they're commenting, they're posting, they're doing whatever you ask them to do. But the audience engagement that you get is going to be based on the invitation that you make, right? And so there's 3 different types of invitations that you can make. And those are the oral invitation, the graphic invitation, and then a chat invitation, okay? Now, each one of these invitations have different like ways of doing it, right? So we talked about the oral invitation is like an audible invitation where you're saying, hey guys, I'd love for you to be in the comment section and let me know, can we add a clickable links in the chat? Yes, you can. What your questions are, right? So like we asked you guys to ask questions, you're asking questions in the comments area, and now I'm able to live real time answer those questions for you and be able to like give you guys some information that you may need to move forward into a purchasing decision, right? So that's how it works for your client. So like behind the scenes, while you're creating these graphic invitations, like one of the first things that we do before we even work with a client is to make sure that we understand their objectives. I'm actually going to do a whole episode on understanding your client's objectives, because when you understand their true objectives for the broadcast, like most people that even come to us don't even understand fully their full objective. They just know they need to be doing video. Video is supposed to equate into more sales for their business. They have no idea what it looks like in between. And so we help fill the gaps, right? by ultimately understanding that this broadcast is used most likely, most often, as a conjunction to a product or service that they're looking to promote or sell. And then we, help them to create different strategies for getting the audience to do different things throughout the broadcast. So it's not just a visual side, it's really a strategy side. And I want to make sure that you, if as a remote producer or if somebody that is producing producing broadcasts for other clients, you want to make sure that it not only looks good, but that it's functional for the client and that they are able to, measure the success of those things. Guys, when we get into, I hope that you guys hit the notifications button right now, because we have so much to cover, and we don't have we don't have a lot of time to cover it in these small little sections. But as you continue to come here, as you continue to learn about how to monetize your broadcast for the client even, right? Then this becomes a space for you to really get your questions answered and to be able to expand on your learning, okay? Expand on your learning. Activate LA, what's good? Welcome to the broadcast. It says great info, loving the live stream. Jerry Smith says, can you monitor your chat to prevent inappropriate comments? Yes, you can. And we'll talk about, we should probably do like a whole little episode on that. But there's different types of chat monitoring that you can do. I know on YouTube, you can actually filter to where you make sure that any comments that have these particular words in there, you can say, I don't want these comments coming up, right? And so, or you can get it to where it says the comments that are coming up have to be filtered, they have to be approved before they actually go on the live stream. These are some of the different things that you want to think about because your client, there are trolls out there. There are people who are watching your broadcast just to get you off base, and they're going to say ugly things throughout the broadcast. And the cool thing about having a remote producer is that those people, most times your client won't see those things. You know what I mean? So because they're just focused on the broadcast, you might see those things, but they can continue focusing on. So your job as a remote producer is kind of filter out the nonsense that can happen with the whole chat thing, and be able to filter those out by we filter through cuss words and things like that. So if it has this word or this word or this word in it, then we don't post those particular comments. We don't allow them to come up without approval or something like that, right? So so that's one of the really cool things that you can do, monitoring that broadcast, monitoring that chat. Guys, you guys are in the chat area. I'm super excited. Scott, welcome to the broadcast. We're talking about how to inspire audience engagement. Now, the one thing that I want you guys to understand is that when it comes to audience engagement, people do what they are inspired to do. And most times people are inspired to do something that adds value to them. Does that make sense? So when we're talking about your call to actions, the invitations that you make, what sort of invitations should you be making to inspire your audience to make, that action? Okay, so let's talk about that for just a second. Audience engagement is inspired by them, by the value that they believe they're going to receive from taking that action. Okay. They're not going to, some people will be cool and they'll just be like, hey, Kimberly, they like to have conversation with you while you're there. But a lot of people are those silent observers, and they're not going to come out. They're not going to take an action until you tell them how their action is going to be valuable to them. Right. So when we, one of the things that we do when we talk through the broadcast strategy for our clients is we help them to create what's called an action incentive that says, hey guys, when you take this action, here's what you'll receive, right? In the way of value. You have to understand that when it comes to clients and when it comes to creating income through broadcast, everything is an exchange of value, right? Your compensation is just an exchange of value for value. Okay, so at the beginning levels of that, what that looks like is that you are exchanging some sort of value for likes and shares and da. Like it might just be like, hey guys, if you ask me a question, then I will answer it. That's the value that you're going to get from that, right? Or it might be saying, hey guys, make sure that you subscribe, and when you do, you'll get our free checklist, right? Or you can download something for free. Like I'm really big on the download. Sorry, allergies. Just because it's one of those cool things that you can do that is free for you and for them, right? So it's going to take your time to maybe like pull up something that's relevant. And the checklist is typically something that I will do that is like most frequently asked questions, right? And obviously you won't label it that, but like for me, most frequently asked questions for me is, Kimberly, what kind of camera equipment do I need? What kind of hardware do I need? And so we have a checklist where you guys can download for free and get, our reviews and our recommendations and the things that we actually use for our broadcast in this checklist. It's something that we give away for free, but it inspires action from the audience when we do that, right? And so now just because they want that free thing, they want that, and they'll take the incentive to take that action, right? So you have incentivized action is one of the things that can inspire your audience engagement is incentivized action, right? And so that can be in the way of something free, or it can be in the way of, they don't want to miss your episodes or whatever. Like, but again, like you want to make sure that whatever you're asking the audience to do, that you have some sort of incentive. Like they should be getting something. It's an exchange of value for value. Again, like, and when it comes to video conversion, here's what I need you to understand. When it comes to video conversion, like how do you actually turn a video viewer into a paying customer, right? So when it comes to video conversion, you convert at 3 different levels. I think I say this all the time, but I want you guys to hear it again. You convert at 3 different levels, right? One, the first conversion is turning, a viewer into a participator. This is that first level of audience engagement, is like you are converting a video viewer into a video participator, right? And the way that you do that is to inspire some sort of action, like liking and sharing, or getting that incentivized checklist or something. Like they get a tangible or a digital value for taking a particular action, right? And so then you want them to take an action that is based on like, participation. Like you might say, hey guys, to be part of this free training or webinar, we're going to go deeper in today's conversation when you join the webinar, right? That is like an action that they can take that allows them a deeper level of your product or service for value. Like, so what are you getting in value? And I think this is important for you to understand too, because so often we will create a broadcast, we'll put all this work into cameras and lights and all of these different things, in order to provide value for the client. But if you don't understand the value that you're supposed to be getting on the other side of that, then you will have wasted a lot of time. Your video can go viral. Your video can be like mad, valuable to the people that it actually went out to. And then you're sitting back like, what did I get? You know what I mean? And like, if you've ever been in that situation where you created a video that you knew was super valuable to the people that were watching it, but then you went back and was like, what did I get? And you had no idea what you actually got out of it. Put it in the comments, say, hey, I've been there. Put it in the comment section and say, hey, I've been there. Because this is what so many content creators do. And this is what happens when you do that. Like when you don't create with understanding what the audience needs in the way of value and what you need in the way of value. Your videos, each and every video that you create, should be adding value to your audience and adding value to you in some way. So at that first level of conversion, your video should be inspiring people to give you their information, right? Whether that's like, them being on the notifications, area of so that they're notified every time. Now you're building an audience, you're building a tribe, right? That's value for you. Or if you're building a list and they giving you their email address, they're giving you their phone number, a way for them to you could so that you can continue the conversation around what it is that you offer in the way of value to them, and that the way that you can serve them. You've done yourself a disservice if you don't offer the ability for them to do that, right? And this is like, again, this is all strategy, and I'm talking to you guys about this because it's so important. I don't want you to create all this content and not understand why this content or how this content is going to be valuable, not only to in the case of being a remote producer, not only to your client, but also to the viewer. Like, don't get so caught up in the value that it's adding to the viewer that you forget about the value that it's actually supposed to add to your client. Okay? Because they're the ones paying the bills, right, at the end of the day. And they need some sort of ROI, and they need to feel like this is working for me and be able to measure, like, how is this working for me? So we actually go through that in the broadcast strategy and show them, like, this is the video conversion formula. This is how you'll know what you're doing is working for you or not, right? Tracy Allen says, I've been there. Walker Jones says, hey, Kimberly, come watch this nice lady. What are we watching? What city am I in? San Antonio, Texas. So guys, so we're talking, if you're just joining us, thank you for watching. I know that might, and this is another thing that I want to put out there for you guys when it comes to audible invitations. Like, within most times when we do a show, we will divide it into 3 segments, okay? 3 segments. So in segment 1, we're talking about, it's kind of like an intro to the segment. Here's what's happening. Here's why it's happening, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then segment 2, we're talking about, like, hey, here's some value. Here's some things that will help you, do A, B, and C. And then you give the action steps on this 3rd segment. But in between segments, we have what's called segment transitions. And those segment transitions can feel repetitive, because you have to understand that people who are watching you on Facebook, or they're watching you on a social media platform other than YouTube, and really if they're watching you live, even on YouTube, most of them are not like searching for the content, right? They're stumbling upon it. And maybe, because of your list or whatever, you're able to send out an email and they watched it from there. And that's cool too. That means that you're doing something right, because you're building a tribe that wants the value that you're creating for them, and you creating a demand for that, right? But you have a 2-way kind of conversation. But you need to make sure that your content is something that within the transitions that you're repeating, like, hey, a few things, like repeating those invitations, repeating those call to actions, because all of them didn't watch you from the beginning. Like, they're stumbling upon it, and they're coming in and out of your broadcast. They're stopping watching, they're coming back. Some people are just like scrolling through and they see all this colorful or whatever, and they're inspired. Like last week we talked about turning your broadcast from good to great and what that looked like for you, right? And we talked about, using things like color and motion and graphics and things like that to really capture the attention of your audience. And if you're doing that right, guys, when people are scrolling through your broadcast, they're going to see something that looks visually compelling, and they're going to stop and say, hey, what is this, right? And then you're going to, if they're coming in like 20 minutes or 40 minutes into your broadcast, depending on wherever you are in the broadcast, then they may feel lost on the conversation. So some things you do in the way of oral invitation is going to feel repetitive. It's going to feel repetitive because you're having to say it every few minutes, right? So you want to say, guys, if you're just watching us, here's what we're talking about. Here's who I am. And today we're talking about, like how to inspire more audience engagement. You guys have heard me say that a few times today. And the reason why is because I know that some people are just now tuning in, right? And if you're just now tuning in, I don't want you to be lost. I want you to be completely caught up on the conversation that we're talking about. I want you to engage in the conversation that we're talking about. And I want you to be inspired to take action, guys. So sorry. All right. Best way to get audience participation in a genre area where people think it's either too woo-woo or taboo to discuss it because it's not commonplace. What is the best way? Okay, so Stephen, you're gonna have to kind of give me a little bit more context when it comes to that. But I will say this, like when it comes to people tend to be shy. And some people who are not shy, they're observers because they've like been watching you for a while, and they're silently getting information, and they're building their value and all of these different things. And then like I've had people who have been watching me for like a few years finally come and say, like, they don't comment on any of the posts, they don't say anything, and then these are silent observers. Man, we need to do a whole episode on silent observers. But later on, 2 years down the road, they'll give us a call and say, hey, we've been watching you forever, you know what I mean? And now we're ready to do business. So guys, you never know who's watching you, and you want to make sure. But when it comes to the best way to get audience participation in a genre where people think it is a taboo conversation, you want to talk about things that, like, if they're maybe not comfortable with saying this piece of the conversation, what are they comfortable with doing, right? So like maybe they don't want to explain something in detail, but maybe they're willing to raise their hand and say, hey, that's me. I've been there. Like when you bring it up, right? So that would be something that I would explore, Stephen. If I'm talking about a conversation that people don't really, feel like they want to express themselves fully, then there's some call to actions that you can make that make people still feel comfortable in the conversation without revealing too much, right? And so or you can say, guys, if that's you and you want a private consultation, then make sure that you hit the link below and we'll talk about your individual thing, right? So then that's another way, scheduling appointments and things like that are off screen. Those are things that people can do if they can click a link and take that action without actually posting in the comment section like, hey, I'm having a problem with this, right? Maybe they don't want to admit they're having a problem with this, but they want to talk to you about it offline. Then you can put a link in the description that says, hey, here's for a private consultation, right? And so they may be more willing to do it that way if the area is taboo and not something that they want to reveal, themselves on. Okay. How can I secure your remote production service? Oh, go to remoteproducerlive.com, you guys, remoteproducerlive.com, to learn about how we create broadcasts for clients and how we create something that is visually compelling and useful to them. Guys, any other questions that you guys have? We're running up on the 40 minutes that we have here for today's broadcast, and we have about 2 minutes left. I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that you found it something that you can start to implement in your own businesses and in your own, for your clients, right? Like as a remote producer, if you're a remote producer and you're thinking about doing this for other people, I want you to be aware of what's valuable to the client. Like, what do they find valuable? Because when you're able to, answer those needs, then you're going to have a successful agency. You'll have a successful platform because they will watch your, broadcast or whatever, or they'll be able to see your platform and be like, this brand gets me. They get me. Like they know what I'm trying to do. They understand how to do it. They're able to lead in this process, right? And that's another thing that I want you guys to get comfortable with. If you are creating your own agency, you have to understand that the client is not just hiring you for help. They are hiring you to be a leader in this area that they maybe don't know a lot about, right? So if they don't know a lot about this area, but they trust that you do, then they're going to be very comfortable with making that purchasing decision because they're like, oh, she's got this, right? He's got this. This brand knows what they're talking about. Their producers, produce at a high level, not only visually, but they're, offline, they're the sessions and things that we go through, I know that this company knows what I'm trying to accomplish. And you only really will know those things based on, the experience. Like as you kind of start creating things, your clients will be asking you questions like that you have to know answers to. And as you develop those answers, you'll be able to kind of be able to predict what the needs are for your clients. And I know some of those things, we'll maybe do a whole episode on that. Guys, we can do like 1,000 different episodes. Every episode, I am literally inspired to do another episode so that I can give you more in-depth detail on some of these things. What are the size dimensions for creating graphics? Good question. Okay, so ultimately, like a lot of different broadcasts are, the standard is kind of 1920 by 1080. If you're doing a lower third graphic, then it's going to be 1920 by like 300. Okay, and I actually want to show you this. Okay, so like these are different things. when it comes to graphics, like all of the different things have different sizes, and it depends on the platform that you're uploading graphics to on how they need to be imported, okay? But like a standard, this is not the actual show, whatever, but like this is a lower third graphic, and this is gonna be like a 1920 by 300. Again, this kind of lower third graphic, see where it says post your comments below. This is an example of a really cool call to action graphic. This is a static one that you can use, and a custom one that you can use to create something that is compelling and visually like that looks good and inspires your audience to take action, right? Post your comments below. And then there's all different types of different overlays that you can do. So when it comes to the graphic thing, we're actually going to go through like a whole episode on broadcast graphics. I want to go through, what are some of the some broadcast graphics that you definitely need to have in order to have a successful broadcast. Like there's 5 different broadcast graphics that I am confident that you guys need to have in your repertoire when producing for clients, because these are going to come up again and again, and you're going to need these things, and we're going to talk about it in the next episode. So guys, make sure that you hit the notifications button so that you never miss another episode of Remote Producer Live. This show has been sponsored by Restream Studio, which we love and we use, and we are using even right now to produce today's broadcast. So if you want to learn more about how to create broadcasts like this on your own, go to restream.io and learn about how to do that. And if you want to you want your broadcast created for you, you love what we're doing, you really want somebody else to do the work for you, then go to remoteproducerlive.com, where we produce online TV shows and virtual events for your company, guys. Thank you so much for being on the broadcast, Tracy. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Michael. We have the sheep farm in the West. We moved from experience online. Any tips for followers? Hold on. We have sheep farm. We have moved our experiences online. Guys, okay, so as we go through this, again, some of the episodes that we do are going to be specifically catered to different types of clients. Like, so how to remote produce for a real estate client, how to remote produce a show for a sheep farm. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. It really comes down to technique more than it comes down to the technology of a thing. So it's important for you to understand the different techniques. And when we talk about getting inspiring action through the broadcast, that's really what all the broadcasting is really about. Like, you want to provide people, you want to get on a platform, provide value for the client, and give confidence in the way of them saying, hey, this brand knows what they're talking about. This brand can really help me move to my next level. And then you want to inspire action. You want them to do something at the end of the broadcast. You want them to feel inspired to really take an action, right? That's what it all comes down to, guys. Again, that's all I have for you today. I'm super excited about how to remote produce for life coaching. Yes. Okay. That's going to be a topic that we're going to, and guys, I want you to go to support at Remote Producer Live, support at Remote Producer Live with questions for me. Okay. So that I can do full-on episodes of the things that you care about and the things that you want to know about in the way of creating something really special for your broadcast, okay? So that's all I have for you guys. Again, make sure that you go to remoteproducerlive.com to learn about how you can get your broadcast created for you and to be able to view some of the samples and of broadcasts that we've created for other clients. Any other questions? Thank you, guys. All right, we will talk to you on the next episode. Until then, guys, make it a great day and make sure that you hit the notifications button to never miss another episode. All right, bye.